dark inside. It's like in the labyrinth. Such a sad-looking boy. I wonder why there are no children in Greek mythology. The only ones that ever appear get eaten. Kronos, Tantalus, Tereus, Zeus, Demeter. They all ate their children. And the Minotaur hidden away in the labyrinth devoured 7 virgins every 9 years. The Minotaur imprisoned in a labyrinth by King Minos. Shame of his family, offspring of the queen Pasiphae. And the bull. Enter the hero Theseus, intent on killing the Minotaur. The Minotaur's sister Ariadne gave Theseus a sharp sword and a ball of string. A terrible battle ensued. I'm trying to unwind Ariadne's thread in my labyrinth. An alarm clock, a toothbrush, a doll, a toy car, a woman's hat, a makeup kit, an electric razor, a pipe. What could contain such a collection of random things? A suitcase, most likely. To whom would that suitcase belong? A woman? A man? A girl, because of the doll? Or maybe a boy, given the toy car? It doesn't matter. I'm dumbstruck watching the circus acrobats. There's a girl who must be my age. She gets up on her father's shoulders. For a moment, my heart stops. And then she leaps into the air. 1, 2, and a half. A huge smile on her face. She's pretty, the little acrobat. I'll lock you up in the basement if you're not back by 8:30, says my father. That was the worst punishment of my whole childhood. To be locked in the cellar, in the dark and the cold, with the rats and spiders. Like the Minotaur. But even that threat couldn't stop me from jumping on my old bike and pedaling across town with my friends to the fairgrounds. To see the circus and complete our collections of bubblegum wrappers, Western movie photos, and plastic toy soldiers. I met my acrobat princess on one of those escapades. By day, she worked in a shooting gallery. She let me have free turns. And later we went off to have ice cream. Gum bubbles. That's when I got my first kiss. Her lips were hotter than fire. Her name was Plamina. I didn't sleep a single second that night. When dawn broke, I set off to say a last goodbye. I mounted my bike and rode like crazy through the empty streets. To the spot where the circus tent had been. But the circus had left. There was only the sand of the circus rings and the bubble gum wrapper. She was gone, and I never saw her again. My only souvenir from my first and greatest love is the bright paper wrapper of that bubble gum. Needless to say, the basement was waiting for me when I got home. I didn't care. I clutched the gum wrapper against my heart, thinking about my pretty acrobat. I often looked for that circus with its family of acrobats in my lamina. I'd take my bike and ride it to the ends of the earth to find her. Sometimes it seemed like I could still touch her black hair. She had different names. She spoke foreign languages. Sometimes we'd smile at each other after. Other times she'd chase me with a knife. Once she lit a cigarette and just walked away. But I never, ever got a bubblegum wrapper at the end. That's how I knew it wasn't her. I began to get used to the darkness. To stop being afraid of the dark, I turned off all the lights in my bedroom. I came to like it. In the dark, I can make up anything I want. It's like being at the movies. I hate it when my father comes in and turns the lights back on. I remember my first real encounter with death. I was in our yard, watching my grandfather try to fix our old motorbike. Suddenly, he dropped like a brick. My parents took me to my cousin's. He was the only one with an army of tin soldiers, when all the other kids had cheap plastic soldiers and Indians. Later, my uncle came to get me. He said, "He's dead." For me, death will always look like a little tin soldier. Years later, there I am, a soldier as well. Standing in front of us in the morning, Major Batsanov repeats. Things are gonna get worse. They're not gonna get better. So this is a great day for you cockroaches. The young soldiers are impressed. The older ones are mostly thinking about how to get over the barbed wire fence at night to spend a few minutes with a woman. I was never good at gymnastics, but one thing I learned in the army was how to clear a barbed wire fence. If you weren't an acrobat, you'd either wind up in the hole or your balls would catch on the barbed wire, flapping up there like a flag. Under the command of Major Batsanov, we all became acrobats in the circus of desire. A garter belt, a can opener, a toaster, a typewriter, a radio. Could this be a museum warehouse? The list continues. The Bible, the Quran, Homer's Iliad, Dante's Inferno, sound clips of cartoon characters like Popeye and hog-calling champs, recordings of the voices of Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, Benito Mussolini, and Franklin Roosevelt, microfilms and projectors with electric generators to operate them. A writer's den? No, it's a time capsule. All these objects were buried 50 feet underground on September 23, 1938, in the world's most famous time capsule, engineered by Westinghouse Electric for the New York World's Fair. A plate on the capsule was engraved with these words, "Not to be opened for 5,000 years." This craze for preserving time in containers broke out just before time itself confronted us. The Second World War erupted just a few years later. Major Batsanov. Things are gonna get worse, they're not gonna get better. So carpe diem it is, I muttered to myself. A bit too loud. Major Batsanov had keen hearing. What? Carpe diem, I repeated. For insulting a superior officer, latrine duty and 3 days in the hole. With no shoes and no lights. Instead of jumping the fence to see my new Ariadne, I spent the night in the dark, punished for the few words of Latin I knew. Fuck me. I'm still there in the dark. Instead of being with the woman of my dreams, the one waiting for me at the Blue Cafe, I decide to jump out the window and escape. I slice my foot. I run to my Ariadne. Of course, I leave a trail of blood in the snow. There was no red thread in the labyrinth. Ariadne didn't give a damn whether Theseus made it out or not. He cut his own foot to leave a trail in the labyrinth. That is how he found his way out. I saw her a few years later. I couldn't believe I'd cut my foot for her. A list of my collections. Little plastic soldiers, badges, commemorative matchboxes, Western movie photos, marbles, BB Turkish bubblegum wrappers, a collection of pictures of cars from those bubblegum wrappers. All these things stayed in the family home when I immigrated to Montreal. No childhood artifact or memory crossed the ocean. I started a new, object-free life, an abstract existence. Sitting on the floor of an empty apartment, 2 suitcases, a telephone by my side, and a chair found in the alley. I spoke neither French nor English. I had chosen to move to Montreal, as far as possible from my country, my family, my memories, my childhood, my loves, my belongings. When you move, objects are deprived of their everyday use. They're in a cardboard box labeled kitchen, bathroom, bedroom number 1. Farewell. A new apartment, new farewells. The moves of my student years. Post-divorce move. Moving to other countries. Coming back. A new apartment. An entire life can be told as a catalog of moves. I learned how to read English in the Côte de Neige cemetery. One could say it was the dead who taught me how to read. I was walking along a path among the tombstones. The first words I learned: peace, eternal, here, born, died, God, memory. Nervously, I traced the outlines with my finger, and names, many names. Carpe diem. Here, I'm nobody. I don't even know my own name anymore. Here, my name translates 3 different ways. Plato said that objects and people are deeply connected to their names. Since I have 3 different names, I must be connected to 3 different versions of me. I am us.
I am us.
No, I don't feel like a stranger here. We are all immigrants. Immigrants, if only from my childhood. We've all left it behind with its playthings, marbles, toy car collections. In the end, the only place I really feel at home is on a plane. Between 2 countries, between heaven and earth. Even if I do feel alone in my narrow seat, aisle or window, it has no importance. I grab my suitcase. There's a sticker on it. There's a grocery store in Montreal called Bucharesti. Since the Cold War, time has stood still there. All the goods are the same ones we had in the last years of communism. Today, they aren't even found in their country of origin. Some are manufactured in small factories in the suburbs of Montreal, with identical designs on their labels. They feed the nostalgia of Eastern European immigrants. Romanian soap, Hungarian paprika, Serbian ivar, Soviet kefir and candies. It's more museum than grocery store. The museum of nostalgia and sorrow. That's where suddenly I receive a message from my mother. Your father is sick, hospitalized. Call home. I'm at the cash register paying for my ivar and kashkaval. The English-speaking cashier addresses me in Romanian. I answer in Russian. I assemble my own time capsule in a suitcase. It will contain a beep-beep bubblegum wrapper, a photo of a target-top Lamborghini silhouette, a tin soldier, a jar of ivar. The train approaches Kustendil, the town in which I was born. As always, my heart is pounding. Will my father be there as usual, waiting at the station? We arrive, the train comes to a stop. The old station with its century-old trees. Time has stopped here. Only my father ages in this unchanging town. Every country has its Major Batsanov. An entire army of Major Batsanovs keeps order in this world. The Batsanovs lead and give orders. They don't ask who or why. If a commissar commands the destruction of the world, Major Batsanov will give the order without a second thought. Nuclear, Batsanov calls out. Nuclear bomb. It's the signal for us to put our gas masks on. We got 12 seconds. If you can't get it on, you're dead. In my mind,